I went to see your meeting. I totally forgot what we did. I'll have to come up with something.
Okay. Good evening. This is the meeting of the Fairmont Area School Board. It is Tuesday, February 14th, 2017. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I can tell we have some elementary teachers in the audience. Due to the length of the pledge. Okay.
Roll call, we have one absent board member, Danielle Schutz. Everybody else is present. You have the minutes of last meeting before you. Entertain a motion.
So move to approve?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the January 24, 2017 school board meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
And it passes. And you also have the agenda for this evening's meeting.
Just gonna change that.
And we have one change. Under new business, item B, Nicole will be presenting the budget resolution. And with that change, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented with that correction.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And it passes. And we have celebrations, school board recognition week. Now you can come.
We're kind of revved up today because there's been a lot of celebrating today in the elementary school. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Happy 100th day of school, and happy birthday, Clifford. So it was a big day in first grade. I'm Pam Bralsma, and I'm here with Joyce Forrester. She is our association president, and Kristen Walters, our newest member of our first grade team. She's been doing an awesome job for us. And we're here to celebrate you now this evening in honor of School Board Recognition Week. Education Minnesota, Fairmont, and the students of District 2752 have a few words we'd like to share with all of you, and I'm going to do so in first grade fashion. So, to our school board, wise and true, we appreciate all that you do. You make decisions every day that helps us all in many ways. You budget and listen, meet, plan, and find the very best choices, keeping kids first in mind. You serve on committees with energy and style, all to make a difference in the life of a child. So thanks a latte for all that you do. We can't imagine our school without you. So we have a small token of appreciation that we would like you all to have. And we want to give a special shout out to Kim Coppin and the Fairmont Elementary Art students because they played a small part in your gift. And Mr. Brookins, yours was especially done by a gentleman that you'll have to give a special hug to because he was pretty excited for his part in making part of yours. So we hope that you have a wonderful Valentine evening. And again, thank you for everything that you do. Kristen is going to pass out our little gift. So
Pam, can we get a copy of that?
it's on the little heart.
Thank you very much.
Boy,
You're dealing with elementary teachers. We're very
that
thematic.
was- that was quick.
It's all together.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
That's nice,
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Well, I remember how excited Brendan was when he was in your class, and it was the 100th day of school. He always liked counting down to that. And in fact, I think even this year he asked when the 100th day of school was, too. So.
And continuing with school board recognition, Joe?
Yes, I have a resolution to read. School Board Recognition Week, a resolution, week of February 20th to February 24th, whereas the Fairmont Area School District recognizes the importance of public education in our community, and whereas the Fairmont Area School District appreciates the vital role played by those individuals as local school board members, establish policies to ensure an efficient, effective school system, and whereas school board members serve as a voice that enables our community to preserve local management and control of our public schools. Whereas school board members are charged with representing our local education interests to state and federal governments and ensuring compliance with state and federal laws. And whereas school board members selflessly devote their knowledge, talent, time, and talents as advocates for our school children. Whereas local school board members are strong advocates for public education and responsible for communicating the needs of our school district to the public and the public's expectations to the district. Now therefore, I, Joseph Brown, Superintendent of Fairmont Area Schools, do hereby proclaim February 20th to 24th, 2017 as School Board Recognition Week and encourage all Fairmont community members to join me in this special observance. And for some reason, I'm tearing up, but only in my, but only on my right eye. And I do have certificates of appreciation for each of the board members. Mr. Ellis,
Oh, well, thank you,
there
sir.
you go. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Dr. Rodriguez,
Thank you.
congratulations to you. Nicole Green, congratulations to you. Julie Lowy, congratulations to you. And Dan Perkins, congratulations to you. Alrighty. Okay,
Okay, you still got the mic.
I'm back with you. Okay, here we
Superintendent's
go.
report.
Well, first of all, let me update the board and the community on enrollment figures. This is the time of year that students are still transferring in and out, and we have had a number of students that have transferred to other schools, other states. And so as of today, we have 875 students in the elementary school and 797 at the high school. So we're down a couple of students in the high school, and at the elementary, it looks like we're down 7. However, we have 2 students that were enrolling this morning at the elementary, so they're not part of this. So kids are coming and going. And then just want to up-to-date the board on a couple of things. First of all, as you know, we have that Saturday welding class going on from 8 o'clock to 12 noon on Saturdays, and it's really going well. We have 20 students taking that class, and because of that, my wife is actually taking that class, so I'm driving her back to Fairmont on early Saturday morning to get her to class on time. The point of that story is that I am in my office from 8 o'clock to 12 noon on Saturdays. And so I'm asking the community that if they want to come and just chat about school, chat about our school district, that I'm available anytime Saturday from 8 till noon. If they want to make an appointment, they can call the district office, or I'll give you my personal cell phone number. It's 438-9083, and that's area code 507-438-9083. And sometimes on Saturdays, the elementary school is unlocked, but sometimes it's not. And so if you want to get to the building and you can't get in because the doors are locked, just call my cell phone and tell me what door you're at, and I'll come let you in. But it's a great time to sit down and have a glass of water, a cup of coffee, or a soda, and we can just sit and chat about school. Just a reminder, too, that a week ago, Friday, because we have 2 students from Martin Luther High School taking the welding class, I applied for state funding. Because if they were taking classes during the regular school day, we would get state funding for them for each hour they took a class, just like we do with our homeschool students. But because it's on a Saturday, the state rejected my request to get funding for those 2 students. And so I went ahead and I wrote a letter, and I sent 19 copies of it out. I sent it to Governor Mark Dayton. I sent it to Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith. I sent it to Commissioner Dr. Brenda Cassellius, to our local representative, Bob Gunther, and our state senator, Julie Lowy, excuse me. Julie, you ought to be in the Senate. Julie Rosen, excuse me, Senator Julie Rosen. And I sent it to the other 14 members of the chair, vice chair, or ranking members of the education committees. So I sent that a week ago Friday. Well, last Friday I got a phone call from Dr. Brenda Cassellius, the Commissioner of Education, who really liked the idea of providing additional funding for schools that offer vocational programs, either in the evening or on Saturdays or in the summertime. And so she's going to be working with the governor and the legislature to see if we can't get some funding. So I was very happy about that. And then yesterday, I just want to point out, I forgot to tell the board, but a couple weeks ago, the governor appointed me to serve on a commission. It's called the Compensation Commission, and it only meets probably 3 times throughout the year. And yesterday they met. We'll meet again on the 27th. And the Compensation Commission is made up of 16 people. The governor appoints 1 person from every congressional district, and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court appoints 8 people. And the purpose of that compensation committee is to come up with a recommendation for judges' salaries, district court judges' salaries, of which we have 300 in the state, and the salaries for Supreme Court justices in the state, in addition to the salary recommendation for the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, auditor, and the attorney general. And so we met yesterday. There were 16 of us that met, and we had a pretty good conversation. We met in the afternoon, so in the morning I went up there and I actually met with Senator Rosen. I stopped to see Representative Gunther. I saw Senator Dan Sparks from Austin and Representative Bennett and Poppy, who represent the Austin, Freeborn County area. And anyway, had a pretty good visit up there. But the commission met, we got done yesterday at 5 o'clock. But it will take me out of the district for 2 days sometime in the next month or 2. We have to have a recommendation to the legislature within 8 weeks. And again, we're just the recommending committee. We don't set policy. The legislature will still have to follow through. But interestingly enough, the governor of Minnesota is ranked the 25th paid governor. And if you can recall, Governor Dayton doesn't take his salary. He doesn't need it. But the governor of Minnesota makes $127,500 a year. And that's compared to other states. You know, we're 25th in the nation, and there's many states that are smaller than we are that pay their governor more. And that's a big job. That's a $46 billion budget that the governor is in charge of. And I think the committee yesterday actually came up with a recommendation that the governor's salary should be set at $150,000. So.
But that doesn't have anything to do with the constitutional amendment that we had last election with the legislative?
No, good point, Dan. That has to do with the state legislature only. And what's interesting about that commission is not just a recommended commission. Whatever that commission comes up with becomes law. And so if they recommend, in fact, right now, legislators in Minnesota make $31,500 a year. That's their salary, but then on top of that, they get per diem, they get travel, they get housing allowance, they get a cell phone, they get a computer, and their total package is worth about $60,000. And so the talk at the Capitol is that the Legislative Commission might look at maybe just setting the legislative salaries, instead of being $31,500, just setting them at $60,000, and then not allow any per diem. And so, but whatever that committee recommends becomes the law. In our committee, we're a different committee, and we simply recommend to the legislature, and the legislature has to decide.
Oh, I wasn't
Yeah.
aware that there was already one that did that.
Right. Yeah, so pretty interesting. So that's what I've been up to.
Good work.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, by the way, when I just want to, one more thing. When I got appointed by the governor, when I was under consideration for appointment, they said I had to do a background check, which I agreed to do. And they sent it to me. It was a 17-page background check. And I passed. But one thing they asked for copies of the state and federal income taxes for my past 6 years. And I had to sign off on those, and so did my wife, Robin. I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought that was kind of intriguing. So I just want to let you know that I passed a background check. Okay. All righty.
As if we had any questions.
Well, you never know.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. So moving on to financial business. Dan, a resolution?
Yes, in Appendix A in your packet, I will introduce the following resolution and move for its adoption. Whereas Rod and Kathy Bailey have donated $3,000 in memory of Dennis Murphy. Be it resolved by the Fairmont Area School Board to gratefully accept this gift.
I'll second that resolution.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Dell?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Okay.
Perhaps, Joe, do you have any background on that donation or what it's going to be going for? Or The one made in memory of Dennis Murphy? Or?
Oh, yes, I do. Actually, I do.
Basketball tournament,
Thank
maybe?
you. Actually, what happened was, if you can remember, Dennis Murphy had a sister who lived out of state. And when her and her husband came for the memorial service and for Mr. Murphy's funeral, they were just stunned at the community support and admiration for Mr. Murphy. And of course, at many funerals, you get donations. And they were so impressed with the Fairmont School District and the Fairmont area that they chose to donate $3,000. It was the $3,000? Yes, to the high school. And what the high school is looking at using that money for is to have a professional artist paint an appropriate, relevant mural in the high school gymnasium that would somehow be reflective of Mr. Murphy's interests. I know he was very interested in basketball, if I can recall. And so we have not seen any designs yet, but this would maybe authorize a professional artist to do something really nice in our gymnasium. So, yeah, thanks, Dan.
And next, financial reports and bills. Julie?
Oh, it's me already. Okay. You should have with you tonight the January 2017 Treasurers Report and the wire transfers. Nothing to bring up on the Treasurers Report. On the flip side of the Treasurers Report is the expenditure report and the wire transfers. You can see that we have listed here the adopted budget for 2017. Then our monthly expenditures are in the center column, and then the year-to-date expenditures. And on that last column, the percent of budget spent, we're at 51% of our total budget being spent at this time, just for your information. And then down below is the wire transfers for January 19th to February 8th, 2017. Then also in your packet is, the first one I'll bring your attention to is the P-card statement. And the only one that I really want to bring forth to you, now this P-card is like a credit card system that we can use to purchase items that are needed in the district that can be done without having to actually go make the paper copy of a purchase order. The Barnes and Noble booksellers down there on that page, it's for thank you for being late. These books were purchased for administration. Superintendent Brown has his there in front of him, and also board members all received a copy of it, I believe now. So, and we're all working at reading that book. So, but that's the only one I had to bring to your attention on the P-card statement. And then on the register, the check register, the first few there are paid through Commerce Bank. The fourth, fifth one down there for the Musical Theater International, music scripts and scores and licensure. That is a payment that is in full now of the it's the completion of the payments for Little Mermaid, which was held last fall for the school district. And then check number 59452, Luther College. The band is not going to be attending the Dorian Festival this year, and so that check was made out, and that will be voided because of they're not attending. The next one, or two down from that, 59455, MESPA, which is Minnesota Elementary School Principal Association. That was for their winter conference. Jim Davison and Michelle Rosen both attended that. That was held January 31st to February 3rd in Bloomington is where that was held. And then check number 59467 is the spring play. It's, this check is made out to Pioneer Drama Service. Play scripts and supplies, royalties and that. And this play will be held the end of March, beginning of April. I don't have the exact date in front of me. And the name of that play, everybody can look for that, Is There a Doctor in the House? And another check that will be voided because of the band not attending the Dorian Festival, 59470. So that will be not sent and that'll be voided out. So let me see if there was anything else. I think that was it then. So if anybody has any questions? If not, then I would make a motion to approve the January 2017 Treasurers Report, the wire transfers for January 19th, 2017 to February 9th, 2017, and payment of the February 14th, 2017 bills.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the report. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have no old business, new business. First on the agenda is Staff Welfare Committee discussion. Staff Welfare met Wednesday, February 8th, discussed a number of things that will be coming up on the agenda for action. Discussion regarding changing the pay for students for summer employment, and discussion about the need to try to increase the district's access to school psychologists and occupational, or the psychologist and an occupational therapist. Is that a separate motion? Is that gonna?
No, the motion is to increase the budget by $50,000 next year to pay for those two things.
Okay.
And I will point out that as long as we're talking about the OT, under this proposal, and the director of special ed and I have been going and really sharing some really good emails back and forth. Our recommendation is simply to increase the budget. These three people that are currently employed by Southern Plains Educational Co-op, we are still recommending that they be fully employed by Special Education Cooperative, but we want to expand their time. We currently, right now, are using 2 part-time occupational therapists. One is half-time, and she's retiring at the end of the year. The other person is half-time for us and then works in some smaller districts. And the proposal is to take her position and make it 1 full-time equivalent, only serving the Fairmont Elementary School District, which is a full-time commitment. The other recommendation, which is part of this $50,000 total increase in next year's budget, would be to have our 2 school psychologists be full-time in our district. And right now, Mrs. Olson at the high school is 0.7 or 70% at the high school, and then she works in Grenada, Huntley, East Chain, and in Winnebago. And Mr. DeBoer, who is 80% at the elementary, also serves Truman 1 day a week. So he's 80% here and then 20% in Truman. And the idea is to have both of those school psychologists be full-time employees through Southern Plains, but be serving our students exclusively because of the need. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Another item discussed was increasing the hourly pay for interpreter. The staff welfare approved increasing the rate of pay from $20 an hour to $25 an hour. And then we also had a discussion regarding school resource officer. And the city of Fairmont has approved in their budget for this year $50,000 with the anticipation that the school district would be willing to collaborate to help fund a full-time school resource officer for the district. Mm-hmm. And some of the background for that discussion, I'll turn to Dell to.
Well, I think, thanks, and it very much coincides with what Joe was talking about with our mental health collaborative efforts. And currently, we have a number of at-risk students that aren't going to graduate from our school, or they're going to be moving on. And traditionally, the psychologists spend a third of their time with them, a third of the time with teachers, and a third of the time individually counseling. And what we're proposing for the counselors, bringing them in on full-time, it will definitely help and augment what we're trying to do in a big picture. And currently in Fairmont, at our high school, we have 31 high school students that have had drug or alcohol violations this year. And that number compares to just a mere 5 a couple of years ago. So there's things happening at the high school, and we have the ability to try to make a positive change and an impact and to problem solve. So along with the professional help that the psychologists and occupational therapists can provide, we as a police department can also augment and improve that by offering a school resource officer. The city has stepped up and agreed, and the school board also is being asked to do the same. So in the years to come, starting next year, hopefully we will have all of these positions in place, and we can make a greater impact and do a lot more problem solving at our high school and in the middle school as well, or the elementary as well.
And Lieutenant Ellis, I just want to clarify, the 31 drug and alcohol violations did not happen inside the building. They happened by our students when they were off on the 85% of the time that they're not in our school. Remember, students are in our school 15% of the year, 85% of the time they're at home. And but these violations happened outside of the school. But we do think that by providing additional support, that we can encourage students to make better choices and be more positive, be more hopeful.
Be much easier to problem solve when all of these staff components are in place.
And that'll be coming up for further discussion a little bit later on the agenda. Also discussed was a question of managed care for disability, and maybe I'll turn to you to.
Right. Our insurance company, we work with a company called EMC, and what they're recommending is that we have very few individual employees that get hurt on the job, but when they do, what this managed care is, they're encouraging these folks to seek out medical care through the Mayo Clinic here, and also there must be a clinic at Walmart. Okay. And that's our preference. They can go to any doctor they want to, but we're encouraging under this proposal. And by doing this, we actually get a reduction in our insurance rates. So it's kind of a savings for us long term. And once again, we're very fortunate that we have very, very few individuals that get hurt on the job. Unfortunately, we do have people that slip when they're coming into the school building and may fall. And we've had a couple of work comp claims that are job related. And we're hoping that this will be another way that we can reduce the medical costs and therefore save taxpayer dollars.
And this recommendation is being made by
By our insurance company.
by our insurance company?
Right.
Okay.
And it doesn't take away any choices of the employees, but it does strongly encourage them to seek out help in these two places first.
And then the last item was a discussion about the long-term facility maintenance plan, which had been presented by Tyler Garrison, and then discussed by the Operations Committee. And so we'll have that discussed as well further. And so that's staff welfare. And next we have budget resolution. And
Yes,
Nicole's
Nicole,
I'll do
you
that.
can
This is something that we do annually, and we do it at this time of year. It's basically because we don't know what the legislature's going to do with regards to funding yet. And it's just a way to protect our district and make sure we are financially responsible and sound. It sounds much more ominous than it actually is, but it's just something that we need to do, and we have to do, and we do it annually.
And it's not only because of legislatures, also we don't know, we can't predict what our enrollments will be next year
Right.
as well. So
Right.
it just kind of helps protect the district, so.
Yep. So I, Nicole Green, introduce the following resolution and move its adoption. A resolution directing administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore for the 2017-2018 school year. Whereas all districts are waiting on legislative action on school funding for the 2017-18 and 2018-19 school years. And whereas a determination must be made as to which licensed staff members' contracts may be terminated and not renewed, and which licensed staff members may be placed on unrequested leave of absence without pay or fringe benefits in affecting discontinuance of positions. Therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 2752 as follows. That the school board hereby directs the superintendent of schools and administration to consider the discontinuance of programs or positions to effectuate economies in the school district and reduce expenditures, and as a result of a reduction in enrollment, lack of sufficient funding, and increase in costs, make recommendations to the school board for the discontinuance of programs, curtailment of programs, discontinuance of positions, or curtailment of positions.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions? If not, we'll take a roll call vote. Del?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Nicole?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
The motion passes. And next is LED lighting. Dan?
This was discussed at the operations meeting of last Tuesday, February 7th. I can't, off the top of my head, remember the gentleman's name from the country, the retrofit company from
Jeff,
Owatonna.
first name was Jeff.
Jeff.
Last name,
I can't believe I didn't write that down
Kath.
anywhere.
K-A-T-H. Jeff Kath. Yep.
And what many entities, you know, everything from school districts to large manufacturing facilities and such are either already doing it or in the process of converting from the traditional fluorescent lighting that we've had for many years and going at an LED light system, I guess would be the easiest way to say it, in the future. So the proposal from the retrofit companies was to do, I have it written down here, what's called a investment grade audit of both of our buildings. Basically, they would come in and look at every single light fixture, whether it's in a janitor's closet or the gymnasium or anywhere, determine what the needs of lighting are for that particular space, and then figure out the most efficient way to replace the current fluorescent systems with LED systems. And the hope of this, we estimate that if we go through with this, it would save the district up to $140,000 to $150,000 a year in electric costs by the reduced wattage that LED bulbs do. So we're going to do this audit. The operations committee approved the audit at the cost of $23,800 for both buildings. They have a rate that they use for per square foot for each building. So that audit will have them come in and do that complete survey of what we have, every single light bulb, whether there's 4 light bulbs in a fixture or 2. They'll be looking at the different options, whereas you have the plastic covers on these. For many of the LED bulbs, that's not needed. There's different baffles and things that can be used to direct the light where it needs to be. So they're going to look at that in every spot and find what's the most efficient method of lighting these buildings. So I will offer a motion to approve hiring the retrofit companies to complete the lighting audit of Fairmont Elementary and Fairmont High School at the cost of $23,800 for the purpose of examining the cost efficiency and replacing district's T8 fluorescent light system with LED lighting.
Second.
I have a question. Dan, so the part of the audit, do they provide a bid for the switchover?
Not yet. I think that's what they're going to determine is how much. Or they'll give us. He talked about different options as well, about 4 or 5 different ways that this can be brought about.
In completing this audit, they come in and they give us, as Dan said, many options, and then they create specs for bidding.
Okay.
And so then we go out for bid after they've completed this audit so that everyone is bidding the same thing.
Yeah.
And then we can select from that, if we choose to go with whoever we want. If we choose to go with this particular company that's performing this audit, they did reduce the price by the amount that we paid for the audit.
For the audit.
So basically,
Yes.
they determine what what we want for the scope of work to be done, and that way everything is bid on from there. And then they oftentimes, Jeff was telling us, actually contract out with, they're basically do subcontractors to get a lot of the work done.
It saves a lot of money because we get rebates with our, with switching over.
energy.
Yep, there's also, part of the problem that they're running into is that some of our lights are becoming so obsolete that it's difficult to find fixtures or parts to replace them. So then we end up doing them with a new fixture anyway that isn't maybe energy efficient. And the government also is requiring certain energy efficiencies, certain bulb types. So essentially, we're going to eventually have to do this anyway. Tyler Garrison did a great job of researching this company, of looking at other districts that have actually gone through the whole process with this company and other companies to see if it's something that's worthwhile. He strongly recommends it. And he actually had a paper that he brought us from the Owatonna Public Schools and what they did and the savings that they received and earned. And I mean, it's not exactly the same, but I was shocked at, I mean, won't be exactly what our district will be because theirs is much larger. They have a different energy company, so rebates are different. But I was shocked at the savings that they receive and how quickly they recoup the cost and then continue to save. To me, it's kind of like when we did the well. We had our own well for our football fields. You know, yes, there was the upfront cost, but we recouped that money almost in the first year.
Within 3 years. Yeah.
Within 3 years.
And we think it would probably be 4 to 5 years before the cost of the project would be recouped, and then you'd have savings beyond that, plus the reduced maintenance, the time that the janitors have to spend replacing old bulbs and things like that, that frees them up to do other things as well, because these LED bulbs should be lasting 10 years or more.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion and a second, and a good discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Summer student help salary schedule, Dal.
If you'd look at Appendix C, our summer student workers, the Staff Welfare Committee is proposing that we have a salary schedule beginning 1/1/17, increased from $9.50 to $10 an hour, and then each year adding 25 cents to that. So 1/18, $10.25, 1/19, $10.50 per hour. And I would move that we adopt that payment plan or salary schedule effective 2017 through 2019.
And a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And then the interpreter rate of pay, as discussed previously, we are paying currently a very bargain rate for our interpreting. And a request has been made to make it a little bit more competitive with the market from $20 to $25, which Staff Welfare thought was a very reasonable request. And so I would make a motion to approve this increase, hourly rate of pay for interpreters from $20 to $25, effective January 24, 2017.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Julie, funding for extended services.
Yes, in your packet, you should have, at least I do, have that kind of explains this proposed hiring of the school psychologist and occupational therapist. And as Superintendent Brown explained, and also Board Member Ellis has explained the need and the desire for why we are looking into this. This is just saying that we are okaying the idea of purchasing those services. We know it's going to cost our district approximately another $50,000. We really feel that is money that's going to be well spent. With this also, we are going to be looking at making sure that we're following up, and we're seeing some changes that are occurring with this kind of, if we need to tweak it a little bit or change something else or something, but we need to find out why we're having more problems with students in the high school and then we can reach out to those students and help to make their high school years much better, and then also increase their successfulness towards graduation, successfulness just with completing their their education needs. So I would make a motion to approve authorization of an additional $50,000 to cover the cost for full-time psychology and occupational services at Fairmont Elementary and Fairmont High School for the 2017-18 school year. These services will be provided by the individuals Mike DeBoer, Kelly Olson, Stephanie Johnson, each of whom will be a full-time 1.0 employee working within the Fairmont School buildings. And these are Southern Plains employees, and we're just authorizing that we are okay with increasing our budget to pay Southern Plains to cover those costs, so.
In a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yes, I have questions, couple. So one of our psychs right now is at the elementary school. Will there now be one full-time at each building? Because there's one at each building now.
There's one at each building. Remember, Mr. DeBoer is 80% at the elementary, and Mrs. Olson is at 70% at the high school. What we see, by them both being in our district full-time, what we see the possibility, and I've talked to both Mr. DeBoer and Mrs. Olson about this, there are times when there might be an overload of needs at the elementary. A whole bunch of new students come in that need to be evaluated, or vice versa. That by having these two individuals being exclusively working within the Fairmont School District, they could shift back and forth. So they're going to be employed in the district. I would guess, though, the vast majority of the time, though, Mrs. Olson will be at the high school and Mr. DeBoer will be at the elementary. But by having them here in the district full-time, they can help each other out. And they work together very well.
Because in the past, they would be out of the district many times for a whole school day.
Oh, yes.
You know, and then not be available for our students and that. So we're just authorizing to,
Or traveling and.
traveling, yes, paying for
And one of the
travel.
major objectives of this is to increase our graduation rates and keep students here in our district. It's got great goals and focus.
I think it's a good investment. I mean, it's easy to look at the lighting thing and say, we'll get a return on our investment within so many years. And sometimes when we look at our kids and our students, we need to think about them. And I think this is very important to invest in our students, because as we invest in our students, we're investing in our community. And we want these students to graduate. We want them to be successful. And if we can give them the tools here in Fairmont, and hopefully keep them here in Fairmont and grow our schools, grow our communities, it works for everyone. I think it's important.
So I would assume Southern Plains is going to hire someone to cover those, or they're, I guess,
I'll
you know,
just
Well,
share-
they're looking at the
Contract,
hirings and
yeah.
there's other things going on as well that they'll be looking into.
to
So
cover those
yes,
services.
yes.
Yeah.
Right, and I just want to add too that Southern Plains has been approached by Jackson County Central to maybe join our cooperative, and by doing that, then there's going to be some, changing. And the beauty of, the importance, I think, of doing this early in February is it gives us the opportunity to plan better, but more importantly, it gives Southern Plains. And I think there are two letters in your packet, and Nicole and I met earlier. One's dated February 7th, one's dated February 9th. And within 48 hours, I have to tell you, I learned a lot about how Southern Plains works in this area and how they work with school psychologists. And initially, I was thinking that, these three people wanted to work full-time in the district, and so my initial thought was maybe we should just hire them directly. I sat and talked to Dr. Middlestad, who's our Director of Special Ed. We had a great conversation. We've traded emails back and forth, and I am absolutely convinced it's in our best interest to have them be Southern Plains employees, and that because the secretary that actually compiles all their documented reports works for Southern Plains. They also, when they do evaluations of students, they can turn that in for third-party billing, and that third-party billing process is all done at the Southern Plains office. We get the money for that, but Southern Plains does the processing. I just think it's important for us to support our collaboration with our special education co-op and work together, because it's such an important job. But making sure our special education children are given the best services possible in a timely fashion is crucial, and that's really what this proposal is all about. So I appreciate the board's support on this.
Very good discussion. Any further questions?
Just real quick, I did, as Superintendent Brown mentioned, met with him today. I met with Sue yesterday. My biggest question is, this is $50,000. It's not just a one-time expenditure. So how does this fit into the budget? And looking at numbers, I'm convinced that it is doable.
It is, and if you look at your enrollment report carefully, that's one thing to look at, because the smallest class that we have going through our system right now is our senior class, and I think with the enrollment report as of today, we have 105 seniors, and or 106 it says here. Yep. But if you look at the sixth grade, we have 130 sixth graders. When sixth graders go to seventh grade, we traditionally, over the last 10 years, always pick up 15 more students because they're coming from St. John or St. Paul's. And so we're projecting that the incoming seventh grade class next year will be about 145. Well, 145 minus 106 is 39. The point of that story is that for the next 6 years, we'll have 39 additional high school kids. And high school kids generate about, the total package is about $10,000, about $7,000 of state aid. So 7,000 times 40 is $280,000 that we're going to get each year for the next 6 years because of our enrollment. I mean, it's all based on enrollment. That's why it's so important to provide quality services, because our budget is based on the number of children we serve. And so the bottom line is, you had a great question, which you always ask. You ask us, can we afford it? And the answer is yes.
And like Nicole said before, it's an investment in our students.
Right.
And, you know, that's what we're here for, is to look out and to invest into our students, our community, and everything else that we have. And, you know, we have great students that graduate, and that they're the ones who will be someday sitting here maybe for us or doing other jobs within our community, but leading us forward into the future.
Great opportunity too, though, to discuss the fact that we thoroughly look into the thing. We aren't throwing money, hoping and wishing. We're making sure that we have the money in place for the foreseeable future, incredibly pragmatic in the approach in a financial way. So you have done a remarkable job with that, and we continue to do it. So it's well thought out. It is a pragmatic approach. It's financially sound. So
We also have a great business manager who verifies everything, so she keeps me.
Sharpens that pencil.
She keeps us all in line.
all
Okay.
good stuff.
Okay, any other questions? If not, all is in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It passes. Okay, school resource officer.
Yes, staff welfare, like we said, we had a busy meeting. We did a lot of in-depth looking at all this stuff, but we're also recommending that the district enter into a collaborative agreement with the city of Fairmont, whereby we would commit $50,000 a year to employ a full-time school resource officer for the 2017-18 school year. This would be the half of the cost for the position. The remaining $50,000 would be paid by the city. And there's a letter in the packet to explain that agreement. So then I would make a motion to approve the committal of $50,000 in collaboration with the city of Fairmont to employ a full-time school resource officer for the 2017-18 school year.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. Okay. One, I want to ensure that when this was very first brought up when I was on the board, Chief Bralsma had a big packet about what a school resource officer can do, what their role can be in helping not only our students, but our families and our community. And it was not a punitive role at all. And I want to be ensured that when we're in this selection process and in this job description process, that that's clear with the job description, that it's not a punitive role in our school. We want the school resource officer to be there as a resource. And we may need a policy. I know there's been some concern from a parent who had heard about this, that there be a policy in place that if there's ever a student who is brought to the school resource officer for something that may be deemed punitive or questionable, that the parents be notified that that's occurring. And so I think that as the Curriculum Policy Committee, we need to work to put a policy together with that. I don't, I don't see a problem with that at all. We want to be open with our families and our community. I think that's a perfectly reasonable request. The only exception to that may be a case where a student was coming to the school resource officer with a concern about a parent. So,
Maybe Dell can just address the philosophy, the police philosophy of the SRO.
Well, indeed, philosophically with juveniles, our whole mindset is very different, and family issues are incredibly sensitive, and we're not unfamiliar with how to deal with those. And then two, that's the street level, but when there's an SRO, that's a whole new, it's a different focus in a law enforcement perspective. And I like to use the term problem solve. And that's what we want to be, as conduit to help problem solve. And there are great needs at the schools. It's the fact of our current landscape. But we do have officers that can get incredibly good training, skills and skill sets and resources from all levels of the government and peers that know how to best operate in a school setting. So I don't speak for Fairmont PD many times, but today I will. We give you our word. We want nothing but best, good problem solving to be the daily practice. So.
And I just want to point out, too, one of the reasons for the timeliness of this recommendation is I was told that it takes about 4 months for the local police department, on a good day, to recruit a new person. And, of course, our local police department is in the process of hiring 2 additional staff members now. This will be another person that they can either reassign, or if they do, they'll have to hire another person. And I think you have a couple of retirements coming up in a couple of years.
You looking at me specifically?
No, no, you're not looking at me.
Yeah.
right?
We've definitely, ours is a ever-changing landscape up there too. There'll be different opportunities and different people. We do have a good group to pull from. We're hiring a couple. We'll hire another one with this, and then that person will have all summer to get teed up with training and the right mindset going in.
And that's really the key, because we want the SRO, him or her, to be ready to go when we start school the day after Labor Day. And, and the expectation here is that this individual will be in our district during the school days of 174 days. And then when we are not in session, that person will be available for the city to use. And I understand they probably would use this person to backfill some vacation time for some of the local officers.
Yeah, we have no lack of things to do.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
thank you. That answered my other question, is what the commitment to the school would be with that
Right.
split.
And Nicole, the whole idea about the policy, and that's when I'm very interested in that. In fact, I want to take that suggestion kind of as a directive that we do draft a policy that we put in place before September, because we want to protect the rights of our students. And, when somebody hears that we are going to have a school resource officer, I hope the public understands that we're doing this not because we have bad kids. We have great kids at Fairmont. But when you read the paper, the last 2 years, almost every day on the front page of the paper, or listening to the radio station on a daily basis, there is a lot of issues in our region. Drug busts up on Interstate 90, a drug bust in our county, domestic violence issues. And so we want to make sure. I was told one time that there's no evidence of anybody robbing a bank when a police car is parked in front of it. And also, there's a lot of evidence that when a police car is parked in front of a school, there generally is no violence. Nobody comes in from the outside. And so I want to make it very clear to the community that I think we have great kids, I think we have great staff. And by and large, so the SRO is really there to make sure that our system is protected from the outside world. I really want to make that point, because, and I also think there's great collaboration. The city and the school district are on a roll. We've done a lot of neat things together. The Stady property development, there are 4 new houses that are going to be built. 3 will be built this summer, 1 next year. There's just great collaboration going on with the city and the school district, and that's what makes for a great quality of life. So I'm excited about this.
I'd like to add that, that the other aspect of the SRO is that the SRO in the past has had an office, near the high school administration, and that individual has often been a guidance counselor, a life counselor, a positive role model. And so it's not just, keeping law and order, it's providing, good direction and someone to talk to when things are crazy at home or crazy in the community. And so this, in addition to the additional investment in the school psychologist, as Nicole has said, is, it's an investment in the kids. And if we create a positive environment in the schools, we're going to retain kids, we're going to attract kids, and the money issue will not be non-existent. So anyway, any further questions? So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes. And now we move to board committee reports. Some of the board met with the grade 3 through 6 staff on February 1st. And myself and Julie and Dan and Dell. I
got there very late, yes.
And so I'll comment. We had and Julie can chime in. We had a very good discussion. The 3 through 6 staff, the entire elementary staff is very proactive, very creative, always looking for opportunities and ways to create a more effective learning environment for the kids. We heard their ideas. We shared conversation of how we could collaborate to make things even better. All in all, it was a very positive discussion, and I think a few things came of that discussion, that will provide some opportunities to explore additional ways to make the school even stronger. Julie, Dan, any other comments?
Just overwhelmingly positive attitude and vibe. When you talk about these problems, ideas, envisioning what the next year or the rest of this year and next year are going to look like. I've never been around a workplace that has such a positive atmosphere when you walk into it. So, and that is something I'm grateful for having had one of my kids in that building for the last 7-8 years here now. So.
Well, some of the things that were brought up we talked about the increase of the availability of technology, use of more of the iPads in the classrooms, and we've also, through our discussions, we've increased our technology, and so we're looking at increasing the number of iPads or Chromebooks within the buildings. Also, bettering our internet capabilities so that you can have the computers there, but it's no good if you can't get them to work. And so that was one thing. I know a lot of the teachers were just, excited to hear that we had a plan to start working at increasing the availability there. Also, we also talked about the increased use of eSpark and the Khan Academy. We also talked about with the PE, the walk and talks that are occurring in the buildings, either before school and some of the other things that the kids are doing, the bottle flip. I know I've seen that on TV, on different things, but they say kids are just really excited about that. But those are things that get kids moving to get them up and out. Also, hula hoops and jump ropes. I mean, hula hoops, that was something way back in my day, and they're coming back. And it's just different things that the PE department is just trying to do to increase the activity of our students. We also heard about the STEAM fair. I took some notes here. February 24th, 4:30 to 6:30 is when that's going to be, and they're inviting members of the community, the industry, and having them come in and just share with the students and that how they use science within their workplaces and that. I know we did talk a little bit about some of the targeted services and that, if there's a way the suggestion was if there's a way we can use some of the targeted services without making the school day longer for some of our students. For some of them, a regular school day is long enough, especially with their attendance or their
That's right.
yes, to keep track of the long day anyway. It get burnt out at the end of the day. So if there's other ways that we can use some of those targeted services to better serve our students in more of an efficient way, but also to help them to be successful. So those are just some of the notes I took. I know we had a lot of other stuff on here. I got a phone call in the middle of the meeting, so I had to step out for that. So I wasn't able to take notes for the last, 15, 20 minutes of the meeting, but that's what I had written down, so.
Dal, anything to add?
I just want to piggyback on what Dan said. It's just an energetic building. It's fun to walk into that elementary school. They love what they're doing, and it shows. So that's very impressive. My kids are all gone.
But they were just, so many things that they didn't take anything negatively and say, oh, well, we can't do that. I mean, there was just conversations going on all the time about, what, you use this, you do this. I mean, it's just sharing all the time the successes that they're experiencing in their classroom. And that's what makes them good. That's what makes our students be successful, because nobody's keeping a secret, and they're all sharing it, and they all want all the kids to be successful. So yes, it is very energetic, but very positive.
And I think the important thing was that it provided a great opportunity for dialogue between the teachers, the administration, and the school board. We don't have a lot of those opportunities, and in order to make great things happen, we have to work together. We need everybody participating, and so we welcome these opportunities to have conversations with all those involved with the district. Next, operations.
Operations met on February 7th, and we went over the lighting proposal for the study. That was the majority of our meeting, and I learned a lot about lighting and never thought I'd know. We also took a quick look at the long-term facilities maintenance plan, and the main thing to look at there that's different from before, the main expenditure, would be that the seating in the Performing Arts Center at the high school, we need to wait a year to replace that, because there's been asbestos found in the low ceiling as you first enter into the PAC, and we need to have that removed, and we need to do that all at once, or we'll be spending money that we'll just have to spend again. So with the seating, that's the main, if you look at the long-term facilities maintenance plan, that's the main large expenditure change.
One point I'd like to make is, for operations, I've been approached in the past by some of our senior citizens, suggesting a recommendation to provide a railing down the aisles. And I spoke with Superintendent Brown before, and he had mentioned that when we do the seats, that would be a great time to do it.
Oh, in the back.
You probably need to, for space and fire marshal and all that as well has to be a consideration too, because the aisles have to be so wide or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a great way. I mean, we bettered, I think, our gymnasium by adding the extra railing and that. I mean, it's better, it's easier in that, but it's also safer. So.
Right. And when I was at the school board convention, I actually visited with a vendor that provides seating for performing arts centers, and he thought we were on the right. I didn't realize that we were going to have to postpone this for another summer, but we'd be looking at doing the asbestos removal in the Performing Arts Center the early part of the summer of 2018, and then take out the old seating, bring in new seating. But the point of that story is that they recommend that a year in advance you start doing the request for proposal, bring vendors in, select the seating, so they have plenty of time to plan, because like most seating companies, they generally will do these rehabilitations, or remodeling, I should say, in the summertime, and they get booked up. And so if we want to get something done in 2018, we'll want to, probably in the next 3 to 6 months, probably do the evaluation. I'll work with Mr. Garrison on that to get that going, so we'll be ready to go. But that's a great idea, though, because, you know, some of us are getting older. Not all of us, but some of us are, and so having a railing would be great. Yeah,
And having seats that are a little bit wider would be good for some of us, too.
and having seats that don't
Collapse.
poke at you, too. There's certain seats that keep me awake. Okay.
Okay, CER.
Oh, yes. I actually attended the CER meeting, and just a couple of things. Number one, we had a briefing. There's a newcomers club that came out of CER, and they meet any month that has a fifth Thursday. There's a newcomers organization that encourages newcomers to come and different events. So they talked about that. They also talked about CER is in the process. So they're also going to do a strategic plan, which we're going to start in a month, but they're going to do a strategic plan also. They are seeking new ideas for new projects and new programs and they're asking the community to step forward and to give them some suggestions on things to do. We're very fortunate that our CER program they're just constantly looking at doing better things and more things for our community. And they love their new spaces, by the way. You know, they like the outside entrance and, you know, a lot of people don't realize that our community education department does a lot of things. They do adult basic education. They help non-English speaking adults learn English. There's a lot of neat programs they do for the long-term benefit of our entire community, so.
So if they have ideas, would they contact Ronnie
Yeah,
or
contact
Danielle
Ronnie-
or?
Ronnie Dower
Okay.
would be great.
If they've got ideas or if they've got something that they would like to share
Right.
as an educational opportunity for others, that would be welcomed as well.
That's it.
Okay, and finally, Staff Development Curriculum Committee meeting. Nicole?
I did go to the meeting. I was late because I was talking to Sue about the budget. However, when I arrived, one of the things they're contemplating is what they should do during their, next year during their October staff development time. And they're considering bringing in a speaker to present to the students. He's very well known for his presentations on having a growth mindset, a continuous learning mind. And one thing that was brought up that I asked was they're planning on him speaking to the staff twice, and then in the evening he also will present to parents. And I asked if he could present during the school day to students. And so they are going to they're going to ask him if he can do that, what the cost difference is, and the concern or question is how to pay for that, if there is an additional fee, how to pay for that. But I think it's important. We have all of our staff go and listen to this, and it's something that the teachers have been focusing on for a year or two now, that it's been one of their things that they try to think about and look at every meeting they have, every PLC, but that our students, they're not connecting with that yet, not all of them, and so that it might be beneficial to have this motivational speaker. He's very well known on YouTube and in the internet, and to have him speak as well to our students, at least the junior or senior high school and maybe perhaps our upper elementary levels. So, and that was about all I got to hear.
Did you have a date or as to when this was planned
It's
for?
in next year in October when they have the professional development days.
Do you remember the name of the?
Nope. I can find it for you though.
Okay, so that is the completion of the agenda. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
If there's, Del, do you have something?
I do. It bears saying, a lot of what we did tonight, we've wrestled with. There's money being spent, but I think it shows confidence that the governor would ask you to sit in and try to help set and establish other people's salaries. We do very well in spending the money where it should be here, and that reflects obviously well. If the governor asked you to help them spend money wisely, I think that reflects well on our school district. I really do.
Good point. Okay.
My motion stands.
And I'll second it. Sorry.
Deanna,
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
thank you, board.
Okay.
Nice work.
Did not mean to prolong it.
No, very